Welcome back to my channel, YouTube. Listen, we're gonna hop right in. If you're new here, my name is Brandon. I'm an executive chef here in Silicon Valley. I've been a professional chef for 10 plus years, cooking for 20 plus years. This is a basic class, okay? We are doing the basic fundamentals of culinary. When I create videos of basic fundamentals, sometimes my techniques are a little bit too advanced and I wanna have a library to go back to. All right, so that's what this series is about. If you haven't seen the other videos, go check them out. Trust me, you wanna see them. So let's hop in. We're gonna talk about handheld equipment today. This is the book we're using. Take a good look. And the reason why I'm using the book is because we need a textbook reference, so it's not just all of my opinion. Now, do I recommend to go buy the book? Yes. Do you need it? No. You know why? Because I'm gonna leave a PDF version down below. All right, let's jump right in. We're in part 2. This is going to be page 44. I'm going to read a couple things right out of the textbook, and then I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about and what I'm referring to and what the pieces of equipment are first. The first thing I'm going to talk about is knives, okay? This is essential when you become a culinary professional. When you go to culinary school, when you start working in a restaurant, your knives are essential to you. As you go throughout your career, knives become less and less important unless you're a knife geek. Handle knives with respect. Knives can be damaged if they are handled carelessly. Even though good quality knives are manufactured to last a lifetime, they are still prone to damage if not taken care of properly. Totally agree with that, couldn't agree more. Next, keep knives sharp. Learn the proper techniques for both sharpening and honing knives. A sharp knife not only performs better, but is safer to use because less effort is required to cut through the food. There are many ways to sharpen knives. Use a stone periodically, a sharpening machine, or send them to a professional cutlery sharpener. I got some opinions on that one. Number 3, keep knives clean. Clean knives thoroughly immediately after using them. Sanitize the entire knife, including the handle, bolster, and blade, as necessary so that the tool will not cross-contaminate food. Do not clean knives in a dishwasher. Very important. Number 4, use safe handling procedures for the knife. There are standards of behavior that should be remembered when using knives. When you are passing a knife, lay it down on the work surface so that the handle is extended towards the person who will pick it up. Whenever you must carry a knife from one area to the kitchen or another, hold the knife straight down at your side with the sharp edge facing behind you. Let people know you are passing by with something sharp. When you lay a knife down on a work surface, be sure that no part of it extends over the edge of the cutting board or work table. Also, do not cover the knife with food, towels, equipment, and the like. Be sure the blade is facing away from the edge of the work surface. Do not attempt to catch a falling knife. Number 5, use an appropriate cutting surface. Cutting directly on metal, glass, or marble will dull and eventually damage the blade of the knife. To prevent dulling, always use wooden or composition cutting boards. 6, keep knives properly stored. There are a number of safe, practical ways to store knives, including in knife roll kits, rolls, slots, or racks, or on a magnetized holder. Storage systems should be kept just as clean as the knives. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to read that directly from the textbook so there's no debate. And I couldn't agree more with everything that is said in this book. That is page 44. It talks about knives. And now here's my opinion on knife storage. I prefer to keep knives dry and clean. My ultimate fear in life is a knife block, okay? So please get rid of those knife blocks. You want a magnetic strip. I also have 2 small children, so my magnetic strip with my knives is far away from where they can reach, but I think that is probably my best solution. Or what I also like to use is a wooden knife rack that has whole placeholders. You know, obviously do whatever is convenient for you. So now we're gonna get into the knife parts, and I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Here is a knife, okay? Super simply, this is the blade, of course. This is the cutting edge right here. This is called the bolster. This is called the tang. These little stainless steel holes right here are actually called rivets, and it's what keeps the tang together. What's really important is, I think with choosing a knife, I'm not going to get into the type of metals, but ultimately stainless steel is probably going to be your best bet, okay? Or stainless steel coating. This is actually a carbon steel knife, which I highly prefer and highly recommend, but it also takes some maintenance. If you have any questions about the knife in the knife sections, then leave them down below. I'd be happy to go more into detail on the actual knife. I also think that is good enough, right? To know what the knife, you just need to know what the knife parts are. The next section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the different types of knives in the kitchen. So let's go. This is just a basic set that I would recommend for the beginner. You can just go with a few of these knives. You don't need all of them, right? So you could easily remove this one and be able to do your job 100% completely. You're brand new into culinary school, you're brand new into a job. I'm gonna give you a rundown of what these knives are. So this is a bread knife here. Okay, bread knife is obviously used for bread. It is serrated. This is a big one. This is 10 inches, but they make them in 8-inch and you can get small ones down to 6 inches. This is a slicer. It's a long blade with a round or pointed tip. Blade may be flexible or rigid, tapered around, or have a fluted edge. Now, the slicer is primarily made for slicing cooked meat, also suitable for slicing sashimi or fish, but I'm not gonna lie, I actually fillet fish with this. I actually use this for meat. It's just because it's more comfortable in my hand. You will notice that there is a boning knife missing from this set. It's because I don't use a boning knife. I actually use a slicer in place of a boning knife. I never use a boning knife anywhere, but a lot of people like boning knives and they're comfortable. It's subjective. Next, we have the 10-inch chef knife and the 8-inch chef knife. We're gonna do this one together, okay? Now, when I first started, I used an 8-inch chef knife. Now that I'm way further in my career, I always go for the 10-inch chef knife. If I am traveling somewhere, like let's say if I have to go do an event or something, I'm gonna bring the 8-inch because it's easier to manage. Only because my briefcase doesn't hold the 10 or 12-inch. This is gonna be your baby right here. Whichever one you choose, whichever's more comfortable for you. Know that the chef's knife is an all-purpose knife. You could pretty much do everything with just these two knives, okay? There's probably only a few minor things that you can't do with these two knives, but it's pretty much an all-purpose knife. You have to have it. Next, this one's debatable. It is the Santoku. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan. I just put this up here, but I don't use this knife at all. I would rather use a chef knife. But I think this one and the boning knife are kind of optional for you as the young cook, young chef. You make that decision. Santoku knife is pretty much primarily for cutting vegetables, and it's kind of like the chop motion opposed to the rock. It's very easy to use for a beginner. Paring knife, arguably the number one knife you're gonna need when you're starting. You are gonna need to prep vegetables. You're gonna need to peel stuff. It's also can be called a utility knife in a different size. A utility knife, I would say, is arguably a little bit bigger, right? It's 4 to 5 inches. This one's 3 inch. You want to choose one or the other, paring knife or utility knife. For me, it was always the paring knife. I felt so much more use in this. Primary use for this is going to be like, paring and trimming vegetables and fruits, really doing detailed work. Paring knife, top of the line. Obviously, there's a lot of knives that are missing. I'm really big into Japanese knives, and they have a knife for each different task. But this is the basics. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will respond to the best of my ability. And also, I'm not going to get into knife sharpening on this video. What I'm going to do is I am going to leave a little tag here, and you can go watch my full knife sharpening tutorial. I also did a masterclass on it, so enjoy that. Now we are going to get into the other hand tools. Is this everything that I have in my kitchen? No, but this is a general starting point for the young cook. I think what's really important is take in consideration, we're going to go over this kind of quick. So if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to elaborate. We're starting with hand tools because I think these are the most attainable, okay? And then after this, we're gonna go into like small machines and all that good stuff. But this is kind of important because when I was a young cook, I didn't really know what tools I needed. I didn't even know this was called a slotted spoon, right? So let's start with slotted spoon. Basically, this helps get anything out of water that's boiling, poached eggs, anything that you want to remove out of deep fryer or any type of liquid that you just want to grab the solid. That's what a slotted spoon is for. This is an offset spatula. This is usually for pastry applications, but I've used it plenty of time in savory applications. These are tongs. They come in all shapes and sizes. This is obviously for grabbing food, okay? This is a peeler for peeling fruits and vegetables, okay? This is called a microplane or a grater, okay? This is actually called a grater, like a cheese grater, but I got this one because see these little tines here, and basically you can use for the peel of citrus, or if you want to shave truffle, great for Parmesan cheese as well. Kitchen spoon, I had to put this one in there. You're gonna need some dedicated spoons. This is called a meat mallet. It's for pounding chicken, beef, pork, very thin. Tablespoons and cups, measuring cups, okay? Tablespoons, measuring cups. Next is gonna be a paintbrush. Now, I've moved away from boar hair brush, like natural brushes, only because these do not come out. If you have a pastry brush that actually has hair, it's gonna come out and get into the food. So I rarely use those anymore. I use silicone pastry brush. This is a liquid measuring cup used to measure liquids. Rolling pin, you use this to roll out pastries, especially cookies, dough, any type of rolling that you need to do, that's it. This is called a bench scraper. This is primarily used in pastry or bread making. This can also be called a bench scraper, but I actually call it a dough card or a plastic scraper. And this is primarily used in baking and pastry, but as a savory cook, you can also use this as well for mashed potatoes or scooping stuff off of your cutting board. Don't recommend it though. We have a digital scale. I prefer scale over cups and tablespoons, but you know, obviously I live in America, so we kind of have to do both. An honorable mention, I brought up the candy thermometer because I think this is really important for you to know how to make caramel in softball. And there's a whole bunch of stages: thread, firm balls, hard ball, soft ball, soft crack, hard crack. But you can also use this for a deep fryer. Another honorable mention, this is called a chinois, and basically this is used in the kitchen to strain all stock, soups, sauces, you name it, it goes in here. I always valued the chinois over the china cap because you really only need to use the china cap if you're straining a large portion of something that has big bones in it or it has a lot of stuff in it and it's kind of heavy. Next, fine mesh strainer. Whether you're gonna garnish with powdered sugar or you wanna strain a sauce before service, it's just much easier to pull out this one than pull out the big one. Okay, so do you need all of these tools? No, but I think it's really important that you know how to identify tools, okay? This is like just a stepping stone in your career. You kind of need to know what things are. I remember when I was a young cook and I really didn't know what things were. Like, you couldn't tell me. I didn't even know what this meant or what a schnitzel was or katsu pork, or I had no idea. So if you would like any more information on any of these tools or the knives, please leave your comments down below. I'd love to interact. And what's really important is make sure you check out the knife sharpening video. I didn't go over knife sharpening in this video because I've already made a masterclass and I also have a YouTube video on it. So I didn't go into detail. And also, I'm missing a lot of advanced culinary tech equipment in here, especially a food mill, you know, things along those lines. Just keep that in mind before you start commenting like, oh, you missed this, you missed that. No, this was intentional. Basic culinary knowledge. Next, we're gonna go over pans and stove equipment. So I'm looking forward to that, especially the difference between cast iron, carbon steel, stainless steel, non-stick. I can't wait to touch that topic because it's controversial and it's also a big topic. When you're new in the industry, you don't know which type of pans you should buy or which type of pans you should invest in. So we're gonna go over that next episode. Make sure you subscribe and hit those post notifications so you never miss another video. Let's go.